www.ccc.org.
Manning Hall. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer in the Office of Mayor Gary Christensen. I want to say thank you to Fran Matuccio for giving us this opportunity to host this show once a month. We, in the Mayor's Office, are given the opportunity to let residents know what goes on in the Mayor's Office. So we have a great show for you tonight. We'll be hearing from the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Walkability, as well as the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Pay-As-You-Throw and Waste Removal. We've had some really great groups of devoted volunteers who have worked extremely hard to come up with some creative solutions to issues that we have in Malden. Their reports are on the city's website, and we will hear from members of each group about all that went into them compiling their reports and their findings. Later in the show, we have our new fire chief and our brand new police chief. So we have a great show. I hope you all stay tuned, and we're going to get started right here and right now. With me, my first guests are members of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Walkability. We have Sharon Santillo from Ward 1, and we have Amanda Linehan, who is from Ward 3, correct? So we have two very, very passionate walkers, from which was one of the main criteria of being part of this committee. So welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for being here. And let me start with you, Sharon. You were asked by the mayor to chair this group because of your passion for improving walkability in Malden. That is also one of the mayor's passions. He wants to improve Malden's walkability. And it was formed with his new process of opening the process up to the public. So tell me how you found this process and about the types of people who responded to this request.
I was so gratified with the people that applied, the numbers of people and their qualifications. And interviewing them was so interesting. And we have 8 incredible people on our committee, and it's just a pleasure to work with them. They each bring their own area of expertise and interest to the group, and I think we've worked very well together, and we've had the support of the mayor's office and the DPW and Mass Motion people. So it's been a very positive experience.
And there's been a lot of the members from all different wards of the city representing their different areas.
Across the city, and we have people who regularly commute on the T. We have people who are retired and out walking. We have young homeowners just new to Malden. We have lifelong Malden residents. So I think we have a really good cross-section of people in the group, and everybody cares about making Malden more walkable for everybody, and for all of the good reasons that you want to support local businesses, you want the crosswalks to be safe, you want people to be healthy, you want to cut down on traffic, you want to just improve the air quality. There's really no reasons not to walk, and we really want to support that for everyone.
And Amanda, you fall into that criteria. You're a young homeowner, brand new homeowner in Malden. You're getting ready to start a family.
Yep.
And so tell me how you felt about this. What was the strategy that you all employed in coming together to come to your report for the recommendations to the mayor?
Well, it was a great process. I mean, for me being new to the city, it was awesome to meet new people. As Sharon said, different age ranges, all different parts of the city. And you know, we really came together, and it's been a very collaborative process from the get-go. Everybody brings a different perspective, whether they walk to work, walk to the T, have kids that they walk, have grandkids that they walk around. It was great to hear kind of what everybody's most important topic was. And when we all came together, I think we had a really well-rounded group. So we each took a section of the city, went out on foot, explored it, came back together and decided, you know, this is what we think is going to be the top priority. And with Sharon's leadership, we were able to come together and you know, agree on what kind of the hot button issues were that we wanted to start with. So we decided that the downtown is really where we wanted to focus to get the most bang for our buck to begin with. And then, you know, expand to the rest of the city from there and just make all of Malden walkable for all types of people.
And you did also quite a bit of research. So Sharon, why don't you tell us a little bit about, you know, the different groups and the different agencies you worked with and you reached out to?
Well, it's the walking community nationwide is quite supportive, and there's online forums. You can throw out questions, and you'll get answers from experts across the country. Will help you tackle specific issues, and you can take that all under advisement. Plus, we have Michelle Romero, the planner for Malden, and she's been quite forthcoming, sharing traffic studies and things from the recent past and more distant past. So we've been able to have access to those studies and bring local knowledge as well as what is the current thinking on different issues that are being supported nationwide. And we have great support from Walk Boston, which is a very active or local organization, but also very recognized nationwide, and they've been very helpful also.
You also have a mayor who walks to work,
We love that.
and he has been offering some solutions to some of the different challenges that we have in the city. So what have you found is the most challenging issue to try to find a solution to in terms of walkability?
Well, I think we've all agreed on what the big issues are. I think the challenge will be communicating effectively and really breaking it down into manageable bites that we can handle. I think one great thing about having a mayor that's so supportive and enthusiastic about this is he really gave us a charge, you know, figure out the things that we can do this spring and this summer. And so we've taken that and we've really run with it. And I think that, you know, the challenge going forward will be maybe what do we do next? You know, we know that we want to go across the whole city. We know that we want to go beyond just the downtown, but how do we figure out sort of how to involve all the different folks that are in the business community, the seniors, the teens? How do we hear all their voices, and where do we decide to go next once we kind of get those checklist items checked off?
Initially, I heard connect the squares, which I love. So your idea was to kind of start in Malden Square and kind of work your way out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we feel that the Malden Square and the square around the square should be our primary focus initially. And we want to make it collaborative with the community too. We don't want an us versus them, you know, cars versus pedestrians kind of, because everyone is a pedestrian at some point. At some point you get out of your car and you need to walk places, and we want to make Malden Square just walkable for everyone. And after that, we would like to make each square walkable and then connect all the squares in Malden to build a sense of community, because there's so many wonderful neighborhoods in Malden, and it would be nice to be able to walk to all of them and have them all walkable.
And we're getting, hopefully, we're getting some new businesses that are coming in. We got some fabulous new restaurants.
Right.
I've been noticing that we have that our tea station is right there, and hopefully we're going to bring people in and have them doing a lot more walking. What are some of the immediate changes do you think that you've asked to be implemented, you know, right away?
Well, we want to have boldly painted crosswalks, and we've researched what's the best for visibility in different kinds of weather and conditions, and so we want to have bold crosswalks. We want to identify the crosswalks with signs. We want to have wayfinding signs so people realize how few minutes it is to walk to different places to get their errands done and to get to places they want to go, so that people maybe could feel like they could park once and then walk and do any number of things in the Malden Square area, as well as people who don't, you know, who rely on public transportation exclusively and don't have cars. We want to make it so that everybody can easily get around on foot in Malden Square area.
So why don't you talk about the exciting new wayfinding signs that
Well,
is a big deal and is very exciting to a lot of people, and
It's-
especially you, since you've done all the work
Right.
for it.
Yeah, it is very exciting. Many people know that we have a world-famous artist who grew up in Malden, Frank Stella, and we have been in touch with him as a committee, and he has agreed to allow us to use a piece of his artwork as a border on our wayfinding signs that are going to identify the city of Malden and that we support walking, and this is a safe place to walk. And we have this favorite son, and we are a burgeoning arts community also. The community very much supports the arts. So we're very excited that he's been so generous to his city of his birth. And I haven't communicated directly with him, but with his assistant, and she said he's quite pleased to have his art used in Malden in this way to support walking.
That's really exciting. I mean,
it
I
is.
think I look forward to seeing those. And your idea is to identify exciting points and parts of the city that
Right.
and the quickness and getting to them and
Right.
allowing people to, like you said, encourage more walking.
Right, and to the recreational areas
Yes.
in Malden, to Bellsmere Pond, Waits Mount, different places that we have that are quite lovely.
And I understand that new businesses that are coming in, you've made some suggestions to, the mayor that you would like to recommend that new businesses coming in follow a certain criteria for things such as sidewalks and timing of lights, etc. Did you want to add anything extra about that?
Well, yes, we've developed a criteria list for new developments coming in, things that are very much in keeping with nationwide trends of what are the good features to have. So as long as an area is being redone, why not do it in a safe way and visually appealing way, and make it easier for everyone, the pedestrians as well as the vehicles, to get through and deal with the crosswalks.
And they're doing the, doing that as part of their construction helps the city in terms of cost.
Right.
Right, which we say in the report, it's not just about helping pedestrians, it actually helps the businesses too. It makes their area more attractive, and they'll do more business and bring more people to the areas that we're hoping.
What is the most difficult intersection right now? Have you, in terms of pedestrians, what was the biggest in your research? What did you find as the most challenging that people kind of collaborated on?
I'd say Center and Main
Yeah,
comes
I
up
think
a lot.
so.
A lot of people speak about the difficulty of crossing there. That's come up frequently, and the timing of the lights, and no
Right.
place for pedestrians to wait in the center. No, not really a safe area for them, and the rounded curb cuts, and danger of people turning right on red. Not that they want to harm pedestrians, but they're so focused on the traffic coming from the left, they're not realizing that people are stepping off the curb.
Right.
And people that have the right of way, I mean, they have the little white walk sign, and they're stepping off the curb to cross, but it's a very dangerous,
Yes.
very dangerous in those
Yeah,
It is.
intersections.
that is
Yeah.
one of the priorities that the mayor has also, is making sure that our pedestrians can cross safely. And I just want to let everyone know to check out on the website. We have our Making Malden Walkable report of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Walkability. It's up on the website. Please go through it, check it out. I want to thank both of you for coming out tonight. This was fabulous, and I hope that you will continue to serve on this committee, even though the report is done, and have some type of citizens walking group or something for the mayor, and continue to move forward on this. And so we're going to take a quick break right now, and when we come back, we will be speaking with the members of the Pay As You Throw and Waste Removal Committee, the Mayor's Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Phew, one down. I want to extend a warm welcome to Paula Spazzieri and to Eric Royds. We had a third guest, Jeremy Nuringer, who was not able to make it. So we have Paula and Eric with us tonight, who are members of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Pay-As-You-Throw and Waste Removal. Those are some big words. And
It's a mouthful.
Yes, it's a mouthful. And you guys did some great work. You did a lot of work. Now, this committee was formed a little differently than most. The folks on this committee were contacted by the mayor and asked to serve on this committee. And everyone in this group had, at some point over the years, whether it was as a city councilor or as a candidate for mayor or as mayor, had contacted the mayor to let him know what they thought of the system, of the program, and offered him advice about changing it. So he went through and he decided to try to fix this issue and make some recommendations to make it better, to go to these folks and go to you guys. So
that's how I got on this committee.
That's how you all got on this committee. Maybe you didn't know that. Surprise! As it is such a hot button issue, the mayor was looking for some regular folks who cared not that everyone doesn't care, but some regular folks to just give them some input and come together. So you all started meeting in September.
Yeah.
So tell me what it was like getting to know each other, not really understanding and knowing where all you came from on this program and this on this pay-as-you-throw. Like, some people like it, some people don't like it, some people hate it, some people are passionate about it. Tell me what it was like for you.
Well, I mean, we were a fairly large committee to start with. And we were very, very different ideas about the program. I was surprised that there weren't more people who felt the same way I did. I felt that the program was just fine. I didn't mind using the blue bags at all. It wasn't a big problem for me. And some people were very vehement that they couldn't stand blue bags, had to get rid of the program, and needed it to be abolished immediately, and that they weren't going to settle for anything short of that. And this was, we spent a good couple weeks. We met for an hour or hour and a half a week, which is, you know, a lot of time when you're a volunteer.
Yeah.
To try to, and through emails, to try to work out, you know, where our thought process was, where we wanted to be, where we wanted to go with this. And just finding a common middle ground before we even got started took several weeks. I think there was some idea in the community that this was going to be show up for an hour and suddenly have a solution to a problem. Well, it actually, just knowing or deciding what our problem was, that was the balance of pretty much took till Christmas by the time you got done getting input from citizens and things of that nature. So I just think that we really all came at it from very different viewpoints. And by the time we finished, which was, I think we had this thing, we pretty much knew where we wanted to be by end of January.
Yeah.
And then it took, you know, putting pencil to paper, which was no small feat.
I remember
Yeah.
sitting in those meetings, and I remember half an hour talking about where to put a comma and where to put a period.
Yeah, it got to that.
So-
It was kind of frightening sometimes
Yeah,
how
yeah.
much we fought about the wording of something so small, because we felt it was such a hot button topic and so
Yeah.
important to everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so Paula, you kind of were like the spokesperson for the group, and you know, in some ways moderated this group because there
Yeah,
were.
I guess
mean,
I
I have to
did.
say this was a very fun committee to be part of. I really enjoyed the interaction between all the members, and you kind of as you got to know each other, you kind of played off each other, and it was kind of fun. And we had to have Paula do the moderating. So tell me what that was like.
Well, you know, I enjoyed doing it. It was challenging because you know, some people were really vocal and some people were more hesitant. So just trying to, you know, I really played the role of facilitator. So I know I tend to be a very vocal person, and so, you know, if I'm in a group, I try to rein that in. And you know, so I was trying to make sure that maybe some of the quieter people got a chance to say what they had to say. And you know, and coming into the group, you know, when, you know, there's always that when you're new to a group, you know, not knowing anyone and trying to see where, you know, you fit in and what the dynamic's going to be. But I think especially, you know, like Eric was saying, you know, coming in and just, you know, I didn't know, you know, were people going to throw things at me? I didn't, you know, should I have a Kevlar vest on or whatever?
And this is a volunteer group.
It was
We
a
want everyone
volunteer
to know
group.
that this was a
I was
volunteer group.
volunteer. Yeah, we all volunteered our time. you know, I was really glad that even though the opinions ran the whole spectrum, everyone respected everyone's, you know, point of view and listened to what other people had to say. And I think that's how we ended up, both that and our process is how we so easily, you know, arrived at our proposal when it came to decide what we were going to do. So, you know, so we did, as Eric said, you know, we spent a lot of time saying, what's our mission, what are we trying to accomplish? And then we felt that the first thing we need to do is just gather data from a lot of different sources.
So you did, and tell us a little bit about, I do want to get into the guts of the report, but tell me like what some of the research you did to get to your findings.
Well, it was funny. There was a lot of information out there. I mean, the web is obviously a huge resource for anything. Probably too large a resource. You could find a myriad of opinions, and everybody could bring something to the table at first that backed up their own point of view, so it became a very difficult thing to do. But one of the things that we did notice right away was that we had to reach out to as many people as we possibly could in the city, which was difficult because it was such a contentious issue. We were really concerned that what would end up happening is, like Paula said, people would get, you know, vehemently mad at us, a bunch of people who were literally volunteers. So what we decided to do, and because we had so many people online having the conversation without us about, for years about trash, that we decided that, you know, a survey was the best way to put this out there, and we got a lot of feedback, a lot of it positive and a lot of it negative. But even in the negative, there were a lot of positive aspects. I mean, a lot of people understood more than they were saying at first. It wasn't just a case of, I hate bags, get rid of them. You know, there's a cost involved. And people understood that, and many people who verbally in the media, through the Patch or the Advocate or whatever the you know, online service they were using, Boston.com, would say, I hate blue bags, I got to get rid of them. You know, as they had the discussion, the same people would say, I don't know where you're going to get the money to get rid of them. So the whole mindset changed. We found a lot more people were understood the nuances of really of what went on much more than we had thought. We thought it was just going to be a case of no one wants it, get rid of it.
We thought we'd hear a lot of absolutes, I think.
And
so
we didn't.
So that brings us to the survey, and you had some surprising results. I mean, why don't you talk a little bit about the survey?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we found that there were a lot of diverse opinions about pay as you throw. You know, there were the people that just wanted to scrap it all together, but as Eric said, I think one of the big surprises is that most people weren't advocating doing away with the program altogether. They wanted, you know, the bags to be stronger, to be more readily available, or they wanted barrels instead of bags. And I think the big thing that we got out of that is, you know, there wasn't any one-size-fits-all solution. So what we felt is that the main thing, you know, our recommendations had to have was choice and flexibility. So I think that was a big surprise. Eric, what other things stood out for
So
you?
tell me a little bit about what, you know, the choices that you're offering in this report. And I just want to take a second to say that the report is
it online?
And we don't have a nice picture like the other
Yeah,
people did. I was really jealous.
Okay, well, it's something to work on.
Well, we really couldn't find a good picture of trash.
Oh, you couldn't find a good
That's right,
picture of trash. But the report is the PAYT Mayor's Advisory Committee on PAYT and Waste Removal. The report is online on the city website, so I encourage all to have a look.
And I think it's pretty easy reading.
It's pretty easy to read.
and
You guys
we
spent a
tried
lot of
that.
time. So tell the people who may not have read it yet, what is the gist of it?
Basically, it comes down to choice. What we found was a large percentage of the population wanted to make their own choice. And a lot of people would say, I don't care if you charge me on my water bill. Just give me a barrel and I'll be done with this. I don't want to get blue bags anymore. The bags are always out, or I don't want to go to the store, or I find them to be a pain for me to use. But at the same time, a lot of people said, I don't want to pay for somebody else's trash. I don't want more cost going to the budget that's going to eventually be asked of me as a citizen to take up. And I want to leave it just the way it is. So rather than take one size fits all, we kind of split the difference. And not only that, as a group, we didn't felt we had the right to ask the taxpayers to take on an additional cost at this point. This is not 4 or 5 years ago. And, you know, we all felt badly that that revenue had been taken, you know, that revenue had been added to the budget, and that cost had been taken out of the budget, but that ship had already sailed. And I with the current economic climate, we didn't see as a group, and I think we were in total agreement on that,
Yes.
we couldn't find any way to turn to the people of Malden and say, by the way, all you need to do is come up with another $3 million. It'll be no problem. And it just didn't make economic sense. So by allowing people, and we, again, this was what the decision was to how to do that was not an easy decision. There were plenty of people, myself included, who wanted to do like other cities do and get a you know, retrofit the trucks and get the giant containers with the RFID readers on them and fill them on up and wheel them on down to the street. But there was a large percentage of people just in the city in general who didn't want a large barrel like they have in other cities, who didn't have room for a large barrel. I mean, we're what, 16,000 households in 5 square miles?
Right.
And also didn't
Not
make
a
that
lot-
much trash.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of room,
Not
and a lot of people did away with a lot of their trash. That
Right.
was something we really didn't understand, how well we did as a community.
And tell us about the
Yeah.
reports that you've heard from some of the various professionals who came
Yeah,
in and talked about Malden being one of the greenest
Yeah.
communities
Yeah.
thanks to our recycling.
Yeah, we have one of the highest recycling rates of any of the communities, I think in eastern Massachusetts. I can't remember her name now, it's in the report, but the woman from the Sharon, from the Mass DPA, Department of Environmental Protection, EPA. So, but she came and she showed us a lot of figures, of the comparison figures with other communities, and she, you know, said, you guys should really be proud of yourselves because you're doing so well with recycling. You know, you're really a model on that. And so, you know, and that was one of the things, you know, when you look at our mission statement, which I can't recite off the top of my head, but one of the things we wanted to do is you know, have a positive environmental impact
Yes.
too. So we're looking at you know, something. The 3 major things, we're looking at something that would work well for the residents, something that would minimize, you know, any kind of cost impact to the city, and then, you know, as a result, that would, you know, be passed on to the taxpayers, and then and also to be environmentally responsible. So. So getting back to your other question about, you know, the proposals, and the other people we talked to, by the way, were the Waste Zero people, who are the people that make the bags, and one of our recommendations is to improve the thickness of the bags. We talked to JRM, who, you know, are the waste removal people. Those were the 3 main ones that we met with.
Yeah, we also
Hopkins
had
and
Bobby Knox,
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
From the DPW.
Yeah, he was there all along,
who
and
was
he had a lot
there
of
all
good-
along, had lots of great input. He had already
Yeah.
done a lot of
research and
research.
information. Yeah.
But even when you looked at the bag company, which was
Waste Zero.
Waste Zero, which we didn't realize, the bags are made in the U.S. They're the only company that makes pay-as-you-throw bags that's made here in America.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you know, we could have went with a lower cost bag or got the cost of a $2 bag down to $1.50, but we didn't think our quality was going to get any better by going out to China. They were stocking bags for us, and it wasn't that they weren't willing to make bags and have them readily available. A lot of it was the shops here in Malden. There wasn't that outreach, which I know that the mayor's currently been working on to try to get, you know, incentivize some of these smaller stores to carry these bags, because one of the big things was everybody said, I go to Stop and Shop, they're not in front of me, I forget to buy them, I get home and I got trash I need to take out. So, I mean,
So what were some of the recommendations you made in regard to, you know, incentivizing the stores to carry them? And one of the suggestions was even perhaps, and I know you looked into this a little bit, allowing folks to order them online.
Yeah.
So those are some different options that you were talking
Yeah,
about.
that was something we asked Waste Zero about, and they didn't currently have anything in place, although they have been thinking about it, and I heard that they were moving forward on that, and I think it was because of our, you know, making the request, you know, that they knew that there would be a demand for ordering them online.
yeah, they were willing to do signage as well. They were willing
They
to.
actually had signage, but they would go around and they would see that stores didn't have them up, like the smaller convenience stores, and it's too bad because even though they don't make money on the bags, they do indirectly because it brings in foot traffic. So, you know, we learned.
What was the toughest issue that you had to deal with? I mean, I know this is a lot. That's kind of a.
There were a lot of tough issues.
There were a lot of tough issues, but what
Yeah.
was like the biggest challenge? Was one of the biggest challenges trying to, you know, doing away with the bags and switching to a barrel, or you hear all this talk about let's do what what this city does, let's do what that city does. What was the thing that you found the most difficult in terms of balancing?
I think the funny part was everybody had their own challenge that they felt. I mean, I don't think any two of us felt the same thing. My own personal challenge was that I didn't want to see an additional cost go to the taxpayers. It didn't make any sense. We already had a program in place that worked, and everybody in the end, you know, paid for what they threw away. I know that we had several members who, when you went and looked at studies of other communities that had started with pay-as-you-throw and then moved away from it,
They went back.
they
to
went back to
Yes.
a large percentage of trash. We kind of
Same with single stream, too. A lot of communities that have gone single stream are returning to dual stream, and a big reason is a lot of the single stream recycling doesn't actually get recycled because it gets damaged and
contaminated with, yeah.
and eventually that cost gets passed on to the
So
city.
that gets
So
incinerated.
that has a negative environmental
So
impact.
you
to do
found
single
through your
stream.
city,
Yeah.
through your research,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
dual stream is much better.
Right.
Now,
It's
the
much more
barrel that
environmentally
you
responsible.
proposed, tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about the barrel
Yeah.
program.
So to summarize our recommendations, you know, I think you know, do recycling, trash, education. We didn't advocate any changes at this point to yard waste. So for trash, what we're, you know, again, we're looking at choice, and I would answer your question about the challenge was, gosh, how are we going to make everybody happy? And I think until we said, well, why don't we give them a choice? You know, once we came across that made that challenge go away, basically. So for the trash, we're recommending that people have a choice of either renting a barrel, and we're recommending a cost of $100 a year because we feel, you know, if you throw out a bag a week, a $2 bag a week, that's approximately $100 for a 33-gallon trash bag, and we're recommending 33-gallon barrels. I think in the report we have a 64-gallon, but then we found out that those would just be too heavy for you know, for people to you know, the workers to toss out. So, you know, you could have the choice of renting the barrel. You could rent more than one barrel if you need to, just like you can throw out more than one bag.
or continue to use the bags, and
or you
anything
could
over the
continue- or
barrel,
you
they
could-
would have to buy
right,
the bags
you continue to use the bags is the other choice. If you had overflow with the barrels, you could supplement that with the
Now,
bags.
tell me about the recycling
Recycling.
containers.
Well,
You're proposing
Right, and
larger,
the
get
big-
And
away
I
with
think,
the.
you know,
Yeah.
you might want to start by talking about like the big complaint on the
Right,
survey.
and obviously the largest complaint on the survey was trash balls all over the city. Nobody wants trash in their yard. Everyone was going out the day after, and I mean the city council even said, you know, saw things like that. They were actually recommended the street sweeping schedule be changed, so we clean the street the day after the trash gets picked up, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, just little things like that we didn't necessarily think about. But the thing about the 18-gallon, we were victims of our own success. That 18-gallon container, I have 4 of them, and I still fill them all, and I fill a trash barrel besides that has a sticker on it. So, you know, we throw out as much as we can in recycling in order to mitigate the cost of the bag and spending money on it. But in the end, that 18-gallon tote never works. And it always seemed, I don't know about anybody else, it always seemed the windiest day or the,
Yeah,
or
it
the
does.
day you
That's
take out
right.
your
And
trash.
rain, it always
And
rains
rained.
on trash day,
Right, and it was an
too.
awful way to do it. So having, to go out and get your own barrel with a lid is an easy solution. And we, even just something as simple as how do you keep the lid from blowing away? Well, you don't have to get a very expensive container. You can actually punch 2 holes punch a hole in the lid and punch a hole in the container and tie a piece of rope between the 2 of them. It was such a simple solution. None of us had even thought about it. We saw it online. Someone used a coat hanger to actually keep their barrel cover on. And it stops that trash from blowing all over the city. And it's an
again,
instant solution. Everybody has a trash
Yes,
barrel
right,
at some
right,
point.
right.
And if you
And-
don't,
yeah.
you could get a trash barrel for as low as $10, $15
Right.
from wherever you buy a trash barrel.
And what we're advocating instead is that people provide their own lidded containers instead. So we would do away with those 18-gallon bins. People would buy their own container and put a sticker on it, which is really not a change because people can do that currently, but a lot of people aren't aware that they can do that. But the reason that we didn't want to do a city to issue container is, again, that choice, because depending on where you keep it and how much recycling you generate, people, different sizes and shapes are going to work for different people.
Well, this is great stuff, and we could go on and talk about this for another
We love talking trash.
half an hour, and this group never has a shortage of stuff to say, stuff to talk about. So we have to stop right now, and I want to thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
out.
Thank you
This
for
was
having us.
great. And I just want to say, I was doing some hand signals here because you were coming up as Jeremy Nuringer, who Jeremy's going
I'm
to
not.
love that.
Okay.
And this is Eric Royds, everybody. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody that this is Eric Royds, and we love Jeremy, but he wasn't here with us tonight. So thank you all for coming out again. And when we come back, we will be meeting our new fire chief.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome back. With me right now is, I would love to say a big welcome to our new fire chief, Mr. Jack Colangeli. I welcome you to the Malden Zone, and I know that you've been on the Malden Fire Department for, I don't know, since the early
1980.
80s? Wow. And have a very impressive background. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the background and what led you to your career in fire service?
Well, actually, my dad was a Malden firefighter, and I'm a Malden kid. I grew up in the city, and I went to college and spent some time in the military. When I got out, I ended up working for General Electric, but I always felt to follow my dad's footsteps. He used to take me down to the fire station when I was a kid, and I got on in 1980, and it was just a great fire department, as it still is. It's a great fire department that I happen to be the chief of. And through the years, I studied, and I moved up the ranks, lieutenant and captain, and became a deputy chief, and then the assistant chief. And then I was named chief of the fire department right around March 1st. I got sworn in on the 20th.
So it's been quite a ride, and you have quite an impressive background in fire prevention. You've done that for a long time, and you've had incident command training. Tell me how important that is, especially today in today's climate.
Well, I was in the fire prevention division when I was a lieutenant, actually, for a while. Then went back on the line doing firefighting. I really enjoyed the fire prevention division. Came back as a deputy chief in 1992. And I kind of stuck in there because I think it's a great part of the fire department. A lot of people don't understand. We're out there every day, code compliance, code inspections, checking for smoke detectors, answering questions, that kind of stuff. So it's a great place to be. I stayed there. I also head up the city's fire investigation team for a long time. That was a great experience, working with the local police, state police, the feds, DEA, the FBI, the ATF. So I had a very varied experience in the fire department. Most firefighters don't get a chance to do that. And in the course of that, I also protected the city, covering as an incident commander.
Right. Yeah. So you've really done so much for the city, and I know that with the fire prevention programs, fires have gone way down. We still have them, unfortunately, but you've made huge strides in educating people. A big portion of what you do is educate the public.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about the goals that you have to move the department forward.
Well, we have, I believe, one of the best firefighting departments in the Commonwealth. But what I wanted to do what's called outreach and education. And we are going to implement a program, now that the nice weather's here, we're going to send the fire trucks into the community. They're going to answer questions about smoke detectors, look for code violations or hazardous situations, and see if they can correct those. We're going to go into the elderly complexes. The elderly and the very young, tragically, the greatest victims of fires. So we're working in the schools now with our SAFE program. We're going to start working in the elderly complexes with our new deputy chief at fire prevention. That's Deputy Chief Dunn. And we're just going to open up the stations, let the people come in, get to meet us, see who we are. We'll do a very big outreach program and certainly try to educate the public about the need for fire prevention, which is everyone's business.
Right. And tell me a little bit about what the emergency management team does. I know that, you know, Deputy Walsh is involved in that, and tell me a little bit about that program.
Well, Deputy Walsh is now my assistant chief. He's the number 2 guy in the fire department. We became very good friends in our careers in the fire department. We've gone up the ranks together. Having a deputy fire chief as the emergency management director is very beneficial to me because we pool our resources. Anytime during Hurricane Sandy, we worked very close, along with Chris Webb in the Board of Health. So having a close friend as the emergency management director, allows us to get a lot accomplished. We have the same goals, which is the protection of the city.
And you guys just have to go into the most horrific of circumstances when there's a fire, and your guys are just so brave and they go right in. Tell me what that's like a little bit about, when you have a big fire and, everything that goes into deciding whether or not to send someone in or pull them out. Like what kind of thought?
Yeah, I mean, this is why we're here. I mean, it's what we are trained to do. Basically, is fight fires. We give the guys very good equipment, and we give them a lot of training because it is a very dangerous environment, and they get to. I mean, the wear and tear that it does on their bodies is horrific. But we try to give them the best training, the best equipment, and we obviously send them in on every fire because it's better to put the fire out as soon as possible than let it grow and grow and grow, because we have exposure problems. And obviously our highest priority is life safety. Absolutely. And as we say, we go through the gates of hell to save people's lives.
Absolutely.
And at the very last resort, we'll pull people out. But now, after some of the tragedies, as in Worcester, we're now realizing that if the building is vacant, and there's no life safety, then we will pull the guys out a little bit earlier, just a safety precaution.
Absolutely. Yes, I think that people have learned a lot from that. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming out, and we're going to take a quick 20-second break, and when we come back, we will be with our brand new police chief.
I'll move over there. No, I don't want to be in the middle. No, she's doing such a... No, you
feed off of your energy.
No, you feed off of my energy. Okay.
Well, I want to say a very big welcome to our brand new police chief, Kevin Mollis. I welcome you to the zone, and thank you so much, Chief, for being here. And you've also been on the Malden police force for probably 30 years now. And tell me how it feels to be named chief after your long tenure on the Malden Police Department.
Well, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. I was out on foot patrol in Malden Square, and when I knew that Chief Colangeli was here, I wanted to check in, make sure everything was okay. And Jack and I have a little bit of history. We both grew up in the same neighborhood, and we actually took physicals to get on the police department together.
Wow.
And as you said, what does it feel to be the police chief of the Malden Police Department? It's an honor and a privilege, but I want to say I don't want it to change me in any real significant way, other than to always be aware of the responsibility and privilege. But I want to stay connected to the same work ethic and reasons that I took the job in the first place, to remain connected to the community, and also remain connected to the officers that are out right now as I'm sitting here doing their job and responding to calls, and support them, encourage them, and give them everything they need to do their job, and to fulfill the city's commitment to them. It's very edifying to us to know that we have a mayor and a city council and a community who really supports the efforts of public safety, and that goes a long way to further our mission and to further our resolve to continue to do the great job that we've done.
Well, I think that one of the biggest issues that this mayor came into office with was, other than taking down City Hall, was the crime issue. And, there have been some some arrests lately, and we're taking some key players out. But you know, one of the things that is very important to the mayor is, you know, making the quality of life better and safer in Malden. And you know, tell us a little bit about your vision, you know, moving forward, which will coincide with the goals of the mayor.
Sure, and again, you touch on a good point. You know, the mayor has a vision about, you know, public safety, quality of life, and in that vision, it's kind of, you know, consistent with mine. I mean, there is a relationship between quality of life issues in neighborhoods and crime and disorder. It's a proven fact, and I know that the city is paying particular attention to that in neighborhoods. The creation of the Problem Properties Unit has made great strides to address areas of the city that need, you know, some upkeep. Take, for example, the DPW. You know, a lot of what I'm saying is really means that we can't do this by ourselves, or requires collaboration between a number of entities. You know, you look at the DPW, they now have a graffiti removal process. No longer do we allow graffiti to remain. We immediately take it off because we recognize that graffiti is symbolic to a lot of people of crime and disorder. So the removal of it is a great, you know, instrument that the city has committed themselves to. I mean, you touched on a very important point, that the mayor took office, and crime, I think, was a prevailing issue with, you know, most of the community. I've lived here my whole life, and not only when I'm working am I aware of it, when I'm not working, when I interact with members of the community. We have seen an increase in, you know, gun violence over the past couple of years that we really weren't accustomed to. I mean, just the other night we had a forum in the community sponsored by Senator Clark that addressed that very issue of gun violence. So, you know, what I want people to know is that the efforts and direction of the department is toward that. You did mention a recent significant arrest in which 6 firearms were acquired that were unlawfully possessed by a group of people that had been subject to a multi-jurisdictional investigation. I mean, just tonight, before I came here, our drug unit went out and made a very, very significant arrest. You know, the officers respond to calls in a very proactive way. And, you know, something that we always mention at public safety meetings, and I'll say it now, that we require the help and assistance of members of the public to bring information to us to further our goal of reducing violence, reducing fear, and reducing the fear of crime.
What has been, other than, you know, the violence, and which is a key issue, and one that I know you're working really, really hard to you know, keep as few incidents as possible. What some of the other issues in the city that you've been working on in terms of, you know, some of the things that the mayor, for instance, you know, having more police presence in some of the areas, helping people feel safer in the
Right.
Like, tell me a little bit
Yeah,
more.
I mean, I would certainly credit the mayor and through him the city council for being very aggressive in the issue of hiring officers. We have officers in the police academy as we speak that are being trained and will be out on the street, you know, in months to come. So the mayor has made some efforts to increase our numbers, which is a great thing, because I think the fire chief would agree also that, you know, technology and equipment are great, but at the end of the day, you really need, you know, dedicated men and women who are willing to respond to these calls in a heroic way, and in the human factor. So, you know, if you bring up another issue, I would actually say that daytime house breaks are something that we do monitor closely, and have taken some very proactive steps toward reducing. And that's something that the public can contribute with, whether it being attentive to their neighborhood and reporting suspicious activity, and also taking some individualized measures to make their homes less vulnerable to you know, daytime house breaks. But that's a crime that we do look at, and you know, just the other day, some of our very dedicated officers, through establishing collaborative partnerships with pawn shops, were able to, and also to use some technology, license plate readers, were able to bring all that technology but hard work together to successfully apprehend some people that had been involved in a series of house breaks in the surrounding area, you know, to not only Malden but outside of Malden.
So when you take these folks off the street, do you notice immediately a decrease? Like, you know, there's a series of house breaks, you find out who it is, you take them off the street. Do you immediately notice a decrease, or does it, you know, is it a good enough, you know, does it encourage people to stay away, or do you just, is it cyclical?
Yeah, well, I mean, house breaks are driven by a number of motives. Many times we find that the people that are committing these crimes have drug histories, and maybe the acquisition of stolen goods is used to derive income to support a drug habit. Some of it's a little more sophisticated, organized groups that break into houses, have fencing operations. But, an arrest clearly does disrupt someone's pattern of engaging in criminal activity. It does, for a temporary time, eliminate that person from the ability to engage in criminal activity. But it doesn't ever reach a point with house breaks where it tends to eliminate the problem. So again, we remain very tuned into statistical analysis about where the house breaks are happening, trying to find trends with regard to areas of the city, time of day, to direct the plainclothes officers into those areas, alert the officers at roll call so they can focus their attention in those areas. And, and again, many of our daytime house breaks are successfully result in apprehensions because some citizen sees some suspicious activity in their neighborhood and calls us, and we respond to the area in a way that allows us to capture the person either in the act or as they're fleeing the scene.
And we've seen a reduction in incidents in the area of the train station and around City Hall, which tends to be kind of an ongoing issue with people who may have substance abuse problems. And we had a great officer who was there and really got to know the folks there. And he's gotten promoted. So is there another plan for someone else to come out? We've been asked that.
I've actually had very recent conversations with our distinguished police commissioner, Salvatore Butch Giannetti, and the mayor to try to address that very issue of having visible, regular presence of a police officer in the Malden Square area, and particularly to extend it out and around to the MBTA station, where, as you've correctly indicated, we tend to have problems with what you would call quality of life offenses, which tend to detract from the good things that can happen in an area. And we would hope to have some type of solution to that void that has been created by the promotion, the deserved promotion to Sergeant of Sergeant now Ryan Fortier.
Okay, heard nothing but wonderful, wonderful things about him. Now, let me find out, does the police department and the fire department, there's been a lot of talk about moving towards collaboration of offices. Tell me a little bit about that. Are you moving in that direction? Are you...
A combination?
Yes, or eventually having more communication between the two departments and sharing computer systems, that kind of thing?
Yes, well, I'm proud to say I've worked very closely with the chief for many, many years now, and also Chief Holland and Chief Coy. And we are using a common software now, which is called QED. And we're actually using their server as our base for our computer systems.
This mayor...
There was Mayor Christensen made a solid commitment to public safety, and I want to applaud him for that. And we're moving forward very closely together. We have similar interests. Our main interest is the same: to keep the quality of life and the public safe in this community.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that traditionally there's always been a special bond that exists between police and fire, because inevitably when something bad happens in a community, inevitably you will see police and fire responding to those things.
Yes.
I know for a fact that there are many. In the past, there were, I think Jack's father was a reserve police officer at one point,
yeah.
and So there's always been historically that link and bond that we tend to respond to incidents that people call 911, and we don't ask who you are, where you're from, what your status in life is. We only come because you're asking for help. So there's that common link of service that exists between us. Again, Jack and I have known each other for a long time. There's almost been a natural collaboration that exists out of that, and I think there's actually a natural collaboration that exists between the two agencies. But we would like to build upon that because there are some realities where technology and training does have some overlap that I think would further strengthen, an already very, very good bond and a mutual
Absolutely.
respect and admiration that we all have for
And
each
a
other.
strong mayor,
Yes.
so that the three of you meet on a regular basis.
Yes.
Yes.
To find out what's going on. And I have one question. Did you ever think way back when you two were young whippersnappers that you would both be chiefs at this point? Did you ever think about it?
I knew that he would, and I never thought that I would, because it's not really something that I ever had on my career path. I was just thrilled that they would hire me in 1980, and that was like the biggest step for me, and it's worked out in a way that I never envisioned or really aspired to. But I think anybody that's known Jack has always known that he's been the ultimate professional, very knowledgeable in his field, widely respected not only in the community among his peers, but among people outside, the Malden area and the fire field. So I'm not surprised. I think people might be surprised that I'm sitting here, but
Absolutely
not.
not. I would say that we have the two strongest candidates right here representing the city, and I'm so proud, and I know the mayor is, and the rest of the administration, of course, and the city, that we have two solid people here at the helm.
Thank you.
Helm of the fire department, helm of the police department, and we're in great hands. So I want to thank you both for coming out tonight and meeting the public like this and telling them a little bit about yourselves, and hopefully they'll get to know you a little more just from the exposure. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of my guests. I'd like to thank Amanda Linehan and Sharon Santillo and Paula Spazierio and Eric Royds as well for being here. And of course, thank you to Fran Matuccio, who gives us this opportunity once a month to bring you all news from the mayor's office. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you.
Get out of the dock and into the zone.
How come I never get my...